fighter in the world, Manny Pacquiao from the Philippines. Pacquiao, an interesting guy in a lot of ways. He comes from utter poverty from the island of Mindanao in the Philippines. Had to quit school after the 3rd grade. Supported his family by selling donuts on the street. And just, a few years later, he is a world champion. He's a world champion 4 times over. He succeeded at every level of pro fighting. And he's an interesting guy. I think what's most interesting about Pacquiao is that he is a bigger star in the Philippines than probably any other athlete in the world is in their country. He's not only the most popular athlete in the history of the Philippines, he's one of the biggest movie stars in the Philippines. He's the #1 recording artist in the Philippines.
Didn't he run for office?
He ran for Congress last year. He lost by 30,000 votes. He's probably going to end up, though, one day in politics in the Philippines. He has an incredible dedication to his people there. You go to his house in General Santos City, and literally people just line up in front of the house waiting for him to hand them cash, hand them food.
How did he lose the election then?
Well, there are a lot of ways that he lost the election. His opponent, entrenched incumbent. Philippine politics is notoriously dirty. And most people are such big fans of his as a fighter, they didn't want him to quit fighting. They'd rather see him box than spend his time in Manila in Congress. And also, he doesn't have a lot of qualifications to be a member of the Philippine House of Representatives.
Why do you have to have qualifications to run for office?
But he takes that very seriously. He has gotten his high school equivalency degree, and he is now studying for his BA in business, so that he will be prepared to be a politician and to enter office and to eventually be in the House, and then he hopes the Senate and maybe one day the presidency. But when you talk about how big he is in the Philippines, it's almost impossible to overstate it. Especially in Mindanao, where he's from, there has been a rebel insurgency for decades, which has been extremely violent. When he fights, the whole country shuts down. There's no violence, there's no theft, there are no people out walking in the streets, there are no people eating in restaurants. Literally everyone finds the closest television set to watch him. When he was running for office, his opponent actually petitioned to have his fights taken off TV because she said it was an unfair campaign advantage for him. That proposal was defeated easily. No one was going to be denied the opportunity to watch Pacquiao fight. And also the way that he chooses to live his life. He still lives in General Santos City, the same generally impoverished place that he comes from, although he can live anywhere in the world, has made tens of millions of dollars and is probably going to make tens of millions of dollars more. But he lives in this place that is very dangerous, where he employs more than 30 full-time bodyguards. Most of them live in his house. He has more than 100 M16s in his house at all times. And as an extremely prominent and observant Roman Catholic in a place that has experienced a very violent fundamentalist Muslim insurgency, he has been a target, and his family has been a target, but he refuses to leave this place.
So what's so interesting about this story?
Yeah, and he's just a remarkable success story. I mean, we've all seen athletes in the U.S. who come from very tough, hard-scrabble beginnings, but where this guy comes from is one of the poorest and most dangerous places in the world, and now he is the best boxer in the world, and he's fighting a guy, Oscar De La Hoya, with whom he has an interesting personal history. De La Hoya was briefly his promoter. That relationship ended quickly and rancorously. His trainer, his longtime trainer, Freddie Roach, who was also Mike Tyson's trainer for some time, trained Oscar De La Hoya for his last fight, but now is training Manny as he always trains him. So there's also a lot of bad blood there. And this is going to be a big fight. Of course, Oscar is the name, as he is always the name in almost every fight that he takes. But Manny is the best. best fighter in the world.
What makes him a world champion fighter? What's his strengths in the ring? What are his strengths in the ring?
Well, he's lightning fast. He's been lightning fast in every classification. I mean, when he started fighting as a pro, he weighed less than 100 pounds. Most recently, he's won a championship at 135 pounds. Now he'll be fighting at 147 pounds. Oscar De La Hoya has to go down from 154 to 147 in this fight. But most people think that Manny is not going to lose that much speed going up to 147. He walks around at about 155. He's very fast. He's very powerful. And over the last 2 or 3 years, he's really learned to punch with both hands. And before that, he was just a left-handed knockout artist. And now he can knock you out with either hand.
Why did he take this money? Did he need to beat the golden boy, Oscar De La Hoya, to cement his legacy, or does he need it for the money?
I wouldn't say that he needs it for the money. He could fight other fights and make money. Did he take it
for the money?
I think a big part of it is the money. He's going to get a lot of money. When you fight Oscar, you're going to make a lot of money because he has a tremendous following. The pay-per-view audience is going to be huge. It might end up being even as big as the Mayweather-De La Hoya fight a year ago, which was the biggest pay-per-view event in the history of boxing. I don't know if it'll be quite that big, but it's going to be close. And, it was too much money to turn down.
De La Hoya hasn't looked great in his last handful of fights. What does Manny get out of taking this fight other than a big payday?
Well, Oscar, at the end of the day, although he's lost most of the big fights in which he's participated, puts on a good show. And he is still the most famous boxer, active boxer in the world. This brings Manny Pacquiao not only a lot of cash, but a wider audience than he's ever previously had.
He has the title right now, best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, because Mayweather has retired. Mm-hmm. If he isn't as impressive against De La Hoya as Mayweather, does he lose that crown?
Well, he doesn't lose it because as long as he wins the fight, because Mayweather is still retired.
Right.
He's probably coming out of retirement at some point, especially if he keeps getting all of his jewelry stolen out of his bedroom. But as long as he wins the fight, because Oscar De La Hoya doesn't lose fights by a lot. If you beat Oscar De La Hoya, you retain that title, I think.
What does he have to lose in this fight?
Well, he doesn't have a title to lose. It's a non-title fight. But, pride. A lot of it's about pride. This is a very proud young man. Every time he fights, he feels the weight of the entire Philippine population on his shoulders. Its expectations, its hopes. Everything the guy does is scrutinized in a way that it would be impossible even for like Tiger Woods or Kobe Bryant to imagine. I mean, he lives his life in this fishbowl voluntarily. So there's a lot at stake for him every time he gets in the ring.
Is he any good at those other ventures that you mentioned? You say he's the #1 movie star, #1 recording artist. Is it just because he's a fighter, or is he actually got all these talents to do that?
I wouldn't say that he's Marlon Brando.
He's more Shaquille O'Neal.
All right, okay.
Have you watched these movies?
I've seen some clips.
Okay.
His roles are more akin to, what you see from a Vin Diesel. There's a lot of shoot 'em up. He likes weaponry. He likes special effects. There's not a lot of method acting as far as I can tell. But his song, literally the most
Y'all
popular.
must have forgot.
The most popular song in the country. I mean, it's him singing. It's actually him. And when he fights, people just play it nonstop.